It's time to talk about personal branding. This is not how do you make your resume look good. This is not how you make your LinkedIn profile look better. No. This is about you perpetually becoming more valuable, more employable in the marketplace. So what is personal branding? Well, it's managing people and their careers as brands. Your reputation, people's impression of you, your track record, how people describe you when you're not present. By the way, most of the big decisions in your career and your life will happen when you're not there. Getting promoted, getting hired, you're not in the room. How about if somebody was to just view you on LinkedIn or your other social media? What impression would they have of you? Is that consistent with your employability? This whole personal branding thing became notable when Tom Peters, who's a best-selling author, very successful, he was a senior executive at McKinsey, which is a worldwide global strategy organization, and he's a thought leader, always thought-provoking when he puts material out. In August of 1977, he wrote A Brand Called You. Now, this article was published in Fast Company magazine. Here's an excerpt. It's time for me and for you to take a lesson from the big brands. Regardless of our age, regardless of our position, regardless of the business we happen to be in, all of us need to understand the importance of branding. He goes on, we are the CEOs of our own companies, me incorporated. To be in business today, our most important job is to be the head marketer for the brand called you. And how appealing is that brand to the marketplace, to future employers, to senior management if you're trying to get promoted? As we approach branding, I want to introduce you to the notion of permanent beta. It comes from a book written by Ben Kajnosha and Reid Hoffman. It's called The Startup of You. It's the best book I've ever read on networking and branding. They say that personal beta, that's you adapt to the future by investing in yourself, by transforming your career. Isn't that what we want here? A more valuable you, a more employable you, a more promotable you. That's what we want here. So let me talk to you about this notion of beta. Where's that coming from? In technology, and I took this out of PC Magazine, beta is a pre-release of software or hardware that is given to a large group of users to try under real conditions. You know, you can test all you want in the laboratory when you invent technology, but everyone's networks and their infrastructure is so different. They like to put product in the marketplace and they tell them it's not ready for prime time, but why don't you kick the tires on this a little bit? And beta versions have gone through a lot of alpha testing that's in-house. And then they're generally fairly close to the look and feel that they're ultimately going to be when they're a final product. However, design changes often occur as a result because in beta, they'll get feedback from the marketplace and they'll make adjustments. Again, Kajnosha and Hoffman say we're all works in progress, just like that product was. We're all, you and I, are works in progress. It doesn't matter whether you're a recent graduate, a seasoned professional, or you're reinventing yourself mid-career. Great people, like great companies, they're always evolving. And this is the big one. They are never finished. They are never fully developed. This is a moving target. Each day presents an opportunity to learn more, do more, and grow more. So this notion of permanent beta is a lifelong commitment to continuous growth. It is the mindset of every entrepreneur of life. This is different than going to work, doing what I was asked to do, doing a good job. This is a quest for betterment. This is a quest for excellence. This is a quest to stay on top of things and be leading rather than following. And that's going to differentiate you in your career, where you develop faster enhance your value in a more profound way, and therefore your appeal to the marketplace. Now, key characteristics in branding, this is just in general, and this is as we're consumers, we expect this out of the brands we do business with. First, authenticity. Is it honest? Is what they're portraying that they're going to be, is it honest? When you're on an interview and you're trying to talk your way into a job, is it honest what you're bringing to the table? And then consistency. Can you deliver that consistently on a daily basis? So the brand of you, I want you to look at two different ways. There's the brand that we convey versus the brand that we portray on a daily basis. So you convey, if you're on an interview, this is what I am. This is where I'm going. This is what I can deliver. And then there's the brand that you portray in a daily basis. So I was talking to a business professor, and she shared a story with me. She said she got on an elevator, and one of her students was there and said to her, hey, I'm so glad I ran into you. I've got an employer, and they're going through reference checking. Can I put you down as a reference? She said, sure. But then she went on to say, but you cut nearly half my classes. And for the ones that you actually showed up in, you were never less than 15 minutes late. Surely you got a better brand than that. Now, do you think this person, when they were on their interview, was saying, well, sometimes I show up and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I engage, sometimes I don't. No, they're selling a rosy picture, but there was a variance between probably what they're selling and what they're delivering on a daily basis. So let me ask you this. What are the 5 adjectives that others use to describe you? So how about like this? I get a hold of your professors and I said, what do you think about this person? Generally, they don't go into a long dialogue. There's probably some adjectives they use. What about a previous boss? How would they describe you? Work groups that you're in. If you just did a project and there's more than one person and you're working together, how would they describe you? If you play sports, coaches, your peers to your left and right, what would they say about you? Your social media. This is not how you describe yourself, but it's how others describe you when you're not there. This is an honest assessment. So there's an exercise that you can list on the left-hand side. What do you really think of the 5 adjectives that accurately describes you now? Then on the right-hand side, what are the 5 adjectives that optimally employers are looking for? This is what they want. This is what the marketplace is asking for. Also, you could incorporate personal development goals. You want to go ahead and be more organized, that kind of stuff. It could make way onto this sheet. Now it's a question of looking at where you are today and where you're headed, and there's probably a variance. If you've done this exercise honestly, there's a variance. And then your job is to figure out a way to close that variance and become what the marketplace is looking for. Building a more formidable you. This is a lifelong journey. It's a quest for learning and development. And you need to run this exercise. And if you don't know optimally the 5 adjectives that you want to aspire to be in the future, then figure them out. You can network with others. People maybe who are further down the path. They got hired a few years ago and they've moved up a bit. And it's reasonable to ask, what are they looking for in your organization? The best people, what do they act like? And you start to get these 5 adjectives. People who are further down the path than you, that you're aspiring to be more like them, learn from them, and then set your compass and go. This is brand development, brand management. A worksheet for this will be in the collaterals you can pull down after this session. I'll give you another lesson on branding as it pertains to networking. Here's an illustration of LinkedIn, first, second, and third degree contacts. So we all know the first degree, these are people who I have asked to be in my network and they've accepted. Second degree are everyone they know, who often I don't know. And then third degree, everyone of the second degrees, their network. Never before in the history of the world have we had that kind of visibility into understanding networking. Yet it's right at your fingertips with LinkedIn. So let's say your LinkedIn network, a friend who's connected to you, asks you for help. They see that you're connected with a senior executive from a place that they would love to work. Maybe you had an internship last summer and you networked, and we're going to handle that in the next session after this one. But you connected with a senior executive. You did everything right. And now your friend spotted this. They ask you to make an introduction. Problem is, this person's a slacker. And you're afraid, because it's true, by you referring that person into the organization, you're using up some of your capital, and your brand is kind of at risk if that person might not perform. So what do? Probably do what everyone else does, but people don't admit. You lie. You go, well, that person's really hard to get a hold of. I don't know, but let me see what I can do. And then you do nothing because you don't want to damage yourself. But if you have this same scenario, and an overachiever asks you, maybe this overachiever has a more formidable network than you do, and they make the same request. Now what do? You refer them in, because all organizations are looking for good talent. And then if you find good people, you send it in. That senior executive is probably sending you a note thinking, this is great. So you see how networking and branding are linked. Then there are basics, that you just need to have to be good at anything, and not doing them can destroy a brand. Things like being on time, showing up prepared, having a strong work ethic. In today's world, ability to multitask and juggle and bounce from priority to priority, having high integrity, observable work habits. When do you come in? When do you leave? How do you behave? Do you gossip? How do you dress? These are all things. You don't have to tell anyone about this. They're just watching. Your energy level. Everybody wants strong energy level from people they're bringing into the organization. They want a positive attitude. Your passion for life and for excellence and your passion for the mission at hand, along with coachability and doing extra, more than's called for, is critical to organizational and your success. So you want to stay curious. And that starts with nailing your current assignment. Don't get so caught up with where I'm going to be in the future that you fail to overachieve on the assignment at hand. And then you engage in lifelong learning. This program's part of lifelong learning. Or on a campus, it could be your career center, or often they have the central career center, and then in colleges, they have their own career resources. How about the career fair? That's loaded with 100, 150 recruiters. They'll tell you what the marketplace is looking for. So even if you're not going for an internship immediately or a job immediately and you're on campus, find out what the marketplace wants. Then there's events and conferences. And then in your early career, leveraging training material. So you were assigned to learn this subject. Usually there's a lot more material there that they don't assign you everything, but that doesn't mean you can't dig in, try to go ahead and get more and get ahead. And if you don't know something, do you make a note about it? Maybe a term comes up and you're not sure where that works, how that fits into the big picture. You make a note. And then you go ahead and be sitting down with somebody a week later and say, could you explain to me more depth what this means? Most people ignore that, but that's part of your development. And taking on difficult projects. This is, you reach out and you do something. Everyone else stays away, but you jump out and you engage in a project that may be difficult, because that's where you learn. And you also want to engage with overachievers. and you want to mimic and be like the A players. Every organization you walk in, you'll have some people who go, wow, those are the leaders. Those are the people that you want to study. So I have an expression. You want to learn on your way to work. You want to rock on your way home. Usually in the morning, there's your mind's fresh. And the fact is, what are you feeding your head with? And I suggest it's a great time for podcasts, a program like this. It could be maybe you work out in the morning and you do that. You're feeding your head with good material. And if you do that routinely, I used to have, I'm dating myself, a cassette player in my car. And I had to get it replaced once because I ran so many cassettes through there, whether it was vocabulary expansion, whether it was, I was in sales training, if it was maybe something spiritual, a sermon that was a few weeks ago at church, I'm feeding my head with all sorts of positive material, motivational material, keeps you up and going. And then that was great. And on the way home, I'd crank the tunes. So there's more access to learning material. I suggest Audible, which is a great organization that is the audio version of almost every book on the market. You got podcasts, you got blogs. These are all things that you can do to engage with to go ahead and advance your learning. And will there be a sea change like every week? No. But over time, when you do that, you start to go ahead and really get ahead. And then you want to know your industry. And you do that by networking, other people who are in your industry. Maybe they're further down the line, and what can you learn from them? And then there's LinkedIn user groups. Most people don't access all of those things, but you should. There's trade events, seminars, and webinars that you can go ahead and use in every industry. And also, you want to learn from your mistakes. When you fail, you want to go ahead and figure out, okay, how could I do that better? Or it was good enough, but it just felt like good enough, and you really wish you had really nailed this in a more profound way. You want to go ahead and use that as a learning lesson to become more formidable in the future. And finally, you want to prioritize brand development over brand broadcast. A lot of times people say, well, I just got to get in front of a bunch of people. I've got to go ahead and push this message out. No. Your development is more important, and then you amplify it as you become more formidable. So please engage with the follow-up on this session. We're going to have it at the end of every session. And don't fall behind. You can do this. See you next time.